welcome to the Dundee Show podcast. I'm sitting with my good friend Cammy Stewart. How's it going, mate?
Good, mate. I just finished my work.
I just seen what you were up to the day. We were just speaking about it there, the tattoo line, man.
Yeah, the day was a challenging day for me and for the boy that was in, Chaz. Mate, like, see, doing that tattoo, it took up far too much time. Like, it took 2 hours to get the grid on. I had to hand draw it all, and then I had to tattoo the full thing like by 5 o'clock. But it didn't even take that long, but it was like the machine that I had to use to do it was savage. So, and Joshua come through to the room, he was in bits. His head was bleeding and there was sweat in his eyes and that. So that's been my day so far.
That's pretty hardcore, man. Yeah, the line, like the setting out, the process of the whole thing, it's just as leaps and bounds above what anybody else is doing, I would say.
There's people doing it, like, but just maybe not around here. There's loads of people doing that. There's a guy called Kenji, and he's from Japan, but he does all that kind of gridding system and that. And the guy that I've been tattooed off as Zed, he was like one of the people that came up with the concept for doing it. So there are people doing it, but around sort of here, I don't think maybe anyone's doing that.
I've never seen it.
No, man.
I've never seen it before at all. It's irrespective of the artistic level that it's on.
Yeah.
Because it's, you could see, well, I learned from you and Calum. Basically, I remember years ago, I showed Calum a tattoo. I said, this looks all right, yeah. And he was like, nah, that looks fucking shite. And I was like, how? And then he just pinpointed, he went, look, that doesn't line up like symmetrical to that, and that's out there, and that's out there.
Yeah, like, because like a lot of people in that, like anything, like it doesn't even matter if it's tattooing or anything else. If you're doing something that you specialise in doing, that you're around it every day, you pick up on all the flaws in that. Even in your own work, like probably some people pick up on flaws in my work, but I try and like minimise the flaws. You get stuff like human error in that when people start moving and shaking and that. There's nothing you can do. It's like part of the process, you know what I mean? But like when you don't know what you're looking at, you don't really know what to look for. So regularly, people post up on Facebook or whatever, and they're like, can anyone recommend me like a place to get tattooed, a good place? You just get this list, like, and it's like, like 30 places. There's no point even asking because everyone's opinion's different. But then everyone's eye's different. So you've got some people within that are like, they know exactly what they're looking for. And it's easy for them to pinpoint what's good and bad just because they've got an artistic flair within them. And then you've got some people that are like fucking retarded, basically, and they've not got that ability. You know what I mean? They'll just bypass all of that stuff. It's like you when you fucking maybe pick up a trainer or whatever and you're having a look at it, you'll notice like things that people don't because you're around them all day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you'll notice flaws and like imperfections, or like you'll know like
it's like you're looking out for it sometimes.
Yeah, you'll search for it or whatever. And tattooing's kind of like that. You know what I mean? When you got your Beatles tattoo off me,
yeah, it did actually. That was that was right there. That's. I remember you said you don't usually do colour. Remember at the time?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've done any colour for years. Like,
that was when I was 19. So when was that? That was 13 years ago.
I've only been tattooing for like 16 years. So that was like only 3 years in. It's actually all right. It's still circular. I've done a Celtic badge on a boy before. It looked like a fucking an Easter egg. I remember doing it and like trying to keep it dead dirty. Kind of like, no, clean it. And the whole time I was like absolutely sweating, shiting myself because it was like I've made an absolute ball of this boy's tattoo. And I don't think this guy like noticed at first, but he definitely must have noticed when he got up the road. And
is this when you first started out? Like,
yeah, it was like I've been bitten off more than I can chew. Like you look at it and it's just a circle within a circle within a circle. But
it's the 4-leaf clover and it's got all those lines in amongst it, does it?
It's even now. I don't really do football tattoos, but like they're not easy like to make a good one because you see loads of boys now that have got them and. But how many good ones do you see?
Not a lot, because like a colour's a big part of it as well, is it? Like the backing colour and all that
the
sort of
right
thing.
colour, can you sometimes get it and someone's
get
got
away
like
with United ones every now and again because it's just orange and black.
Yeah,
I've seen a few of them, but
it has to be the right colour orange.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Everything has to be right.
If you do like a Celtic tattoo and it's on like, I don't know, like mint green or something, it's not really going to look the same.
Right, so we're going to start, right, first of all, by picking your brain because the clothes that you wear and your style is very unique to yourself, is it?
Yeah, man. Well, it's influenced by like loads of different things, so I suppose then it becomes your personal thing.
I would call it, it's very casual, very street, you know what I mean?
I like,
very, like that sort of vibe.
I just pick like bits and pieces from different things that I'm interested in and just try and like mash them together in a way that I think looks good. And maybe probably a lot of people don't think it looks good. But
you pick what you want to wear. If you like someone, you like it. You know what I mean?
And if I feel like it suits it, it's like I've got big fucking huge legs, so like for me to wear skinny jeans I just wouldn't do it because. But some people skinny jeans looks good if they're like lean and tall or whatever. But obviously for me that's not the case. Yeah. So I have to like dress to like my build. And like some companies that I like don't even make stuff to the size because they're Italian or French brands and that, and the maximum size they'll make is like a 52, which is essentially like a large or a medium here or something, and I'm like an XL. But in Italian, I'm like a 2X or a 3X.
Yeah, Italian size or
so
something.
Like if a company only makes the 52 and I'm a 56, I can't get any of it. You know what I mean? It's fat people problems.
Yeah, no, that's like I've got skinny people problems. Get a top, but it's too big or too small. But right, we'll take it back, right? So I know you personally, and I know what sort of like trainers you have and how big your collection is. All the people I know like collectors up and down the country. Generally, just Adidas collectors.
Yeah, it's because what you're into.
Yeah, it's what I'm into. You're one of the boys that I know that just he goes with the hype stuff, and you get what you want to get. If you want someone, you get it.
Yeah, I like hustling for it. I was at Adidas. So do you want to know about like my trainers from like when I was a kid, or do I
want to go right back to the start your influences? Yeah.
So like the very first pair of trainers that I got that were significant, I think was like a Jordan 4 or 6. I can't really remember. I remember they were the bread, black and red. I think it was a Jordan 6. And I won like a judo competition or something. And I was with my mum and my old man. And I'm pretty sure like, I don't even know if I won. I think I won. I maybe got beat. Either way, I got a pair of Jordans and I was chuffed as anything. But I think the ones that I'd had prior to that were maybe Nike Air or something, but they were like, Nike Air, but they weren't Air Max, so they didn't have a bubble.
Yeah.
So they had an Air sole, but the bubble wasn't exposed. I used to get like shite at school and that because people were like, they're fake. I went, they're real.
I bet the playgrounds at school were like hardcore for that.
Definitely. So I got these Jordans anyway, and even now I still have a Jordan 6 and that, but that was my introduction. And I was like born in 83. So like in the 90s, basically, that was my first interest in fashion, maybe like 1991 or something, when I was like 7 or whatever. I started paying attention to like fashion. I don't know why, I was just interested in it. And trainers or sneakers or whatever you want to call them, they were kind of like in with that. And there was like a big rave culture in that in Falkirk where I stayed. I was born in Dundee, got shifted to Falkirk when I was about 6 and stayed there till I was about 10 or 11 or something. And the early rave scene was kicking off.
And Acid House
and like rave, like Italian
people
piano
going to warehouses and having it loud.
Yeah, like all like kind of like alternate and like acid influence kind of stuff. When acid was on the brink of changing to rave, and all that stuff was like people wore all that kind of shit. You know what I mean? You had to have like good sneakers and that. And even though I wasn't immersed in that culture because I was too young, I was still interested in like all the fashion.
You still seen it in that? I was still like,
yeah, I passed it in that. We would go to like the Falkirk market and that, and they sold like all these T-shirts and that, and they were obviously just cheapos, but they had like E and like XTC and that. And I was only young, but I was still like, I want to like be part of that. And I didn't even know at the time what any of it meant. You know what I mean? I just knew it was cool.
Yeah, you just see me like that. Bright colours are obviously like neon pinks and greens and happy faces.
Yeah,
all these sort of T-shirts.
I still like all like 90s shit and that. That's a lot of influence and that I still would go with.
90s is seriously back just now. It's just
I don't think the 90s will ever really like go away as such. It's because it was such a strong influence, and it was when cultures and that started like merging. You know what I mean? So like the 80s and that is really strong. Like you can always define the 80s and that, but the 90s and that start in the 70s, 60s or whatever. But the 90s started breaking into like pods and like different like social circles and that. And
well, even if like, just what you were going on about, like the Falkirk about that time, there was like the whole freedom of party movement and that.
Yeah.
Just getting that and going for the nightclubs.
Parties and that, and like everything was about comfort because people were up for like, 12 or 24 hours or whatever raving. And they wanted their feet to be comfy, so that was what influenced their choice of footwear. And like I know all that now because like I've done my research and because I was interested in it, but at the time I didn't know any of that. I just knew I wanted it. So it was like Joe Bloggs, that's what I used to wear, Furio, Mackenzie, Naf Naf Co 54, and then there was like stuff slightly after, like Eclipse and all that.
Were you about the was it SPX times and that? The SPX.
I didn't really like. I don't know. I wasn't aware of it. Nah.
All the older boys, they always going to be like the Troops and the Travel Fox, all them.
Yeah, Travel Fox. Yeah. I had Travel Fox and that.
Yeah, like honestly, they get dead excited when you go on
There was
about
like
it.
other stuff, but like when I was young in that, mate, we didn't really have loads of money in that. Like we were all right, but like we didn't have like dispensable cash that I could just get off my mum and dad, you know, like have all this stuff. So anything that I did get was like majorly significant, and there was like key pieces that I got, you know, like over time, and they weren't like, you know, mad designer brands, but there was stuff that were important to me at the time, and that's what started getting back to the original question. That's what started my interest in trainers or sneakers.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Do you remember any shops in Dundee you would go into and you would see like them on the walls? Like for me, it was like JD. I remember going into JD and it was Lacoste everywhere. Tennis shoes.
My strongest memory of like in Dundee when I came here was like the Air Max 95s, which I'm still well into, but it was the Japan, I think they were called the Japan colorway, which is the fluorescent neon grey colorway, the OG ones. Like,
oh yeah, with the eyelets are like the neon colours.
Yeah, the neon colours and that, and like they had them in the I think it was JD that was in the city centre, and I went in and I remember just being like, I fucking want those. But they were like dear at the time. I mean, they're probably not much off what they are now. Like I think they were like 120 or 140 quid. 120s, weren't they?
Mm.
Pretty sure they cost that. I don't even think I got a pair at the time. I just couldn't afford that. But fucking got them now.
That shoe was the poster for Laces Out at the Weekend. Like it's a big Liverpool shoe.
Oh, is it? Yeah. 95's big in Liverpool, yeah.
You know what? It's never really been my shoe. The first ever pair that I ever bought, right, it's funny enough you say the 95, I got the 96.
Air Max 1 was like my first kind of Air Max that I had. I think they came out in 1987, but I was only like 4, so I missed like all the like original releases and that with them. And to be honest, mate, I can't even really remember exactly what colourways I had, but I had like several pairs of them. And even now, I think that like for me, with what I wear in that, they're like a good trainer because they go with anything. Like they go with trackies or shorts or more like even more dressier kind of trousers and that, certain colourways and that, you can get away with them because they're sort of in between a sort of sports shoe and a casual, like more relaxed sort of shoe, like an Adidas style. You know what I mean? They're like in between, and they're not like overly like. There's nothing that's exaggerated on them. Like some of the newer models and that, they're like really bulbous and like stuff like that. Yeah, they're more like a statement piece, but these are more day to day. And I feel like in Air Max 1, I get the most wear out of them.
See, when I was at Laces Out the Weekend, all the stalls I seen like set up and that, like, you could tell straight away who had the bots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they've just got like
all the new shit.
Basically, and it's all like these different sizes and that's all they've got. You know what I mean?
I just kind of feel like I kind of like buying them. Like, don't get us wrong, right? I'm not going to say I never buy them resale because I will. If, for instance, like I think the last ones I had to do was Air Max 1s came out and it was like they re-released the lemonades. And then they also done the strawberry lemonades and the limeades. Mm-hmm. I wanted all of them. And I think I only managed to get one pair like at retail and I had to buy both the other ones. But I just hustle with them and that on eBay and that and try and like haggle my way through it and see if I can get them cheaper. And I never ended up paying that much more for them. Like 40 quid more or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I done it with the Air Max 90 re-release of the duck camo, the infrareds. And I don't know if it was a re-release or maybe it was the reverse version of them or something, but they brought out the infrared and the duck camo, the lime, and they brought out a luminous orange pair and that, and I wanted all of them. I don't think I've even worn any of them. I just fucking needed to have them. You know what it's like? Yeah, it's like you've got all the like fucking Pokemon cards or something.
Collector's addiction. Everybody says the same. As soon as they have one, they've got to have the full set.
Oh, yeah. Even I don't have the OG pair and I'm not that bothered because they're really similar to the other pair. But however, if they came up at a decent price, I would have them. But it won't happen.
You would think about it.
I think like, I don't know what they're at now, but they were definitely into the kind of 4 figures or that.
So I'm going to try and pick your brain like on the tattooing side because for like I've seen like what the influence you've had on Dundee with tattooing. Like I've seen it throughout the years. The black work. How many people go about the city that are absolutely black now?
Yeah, there's loads now. Like,
exactly, black arms. Like the influence you've had on the city that way has been insane. So,
yeah. What do you want to know about it?
Just where did it start?
So like the black thing's definitely becoming a thing for Dundee. I don't know why, but it is probably just because I'm here and it's easy and available. But a guy I know that comes and gets tattooed in the shop and that, he was through in Glasgow. And I was like a secretly proud moment because he'd said to me, I was in Glasgow, a boy approached me about my tattoos. I think I'd done a couple of them, but they weren't actually something I would normally do. It was just random that I'd done them as a favour for him. And he went, where do you get tattooed? Or where are you from? And he was like, Dundee. And the boy went, oh, is that no where all the mad cunts have got all this black shit on their pussies? So, like, for me, that was like a big deal because I was like, cool, like, Dundee's maybe recognised.
Dundee's very accepting of that sort of thing. Yeah,
I think, like, Dundee, because it's, like, small and that, and, like, it's easy, like, once you've been kicking about for a while, you become part of the furniture.
And because you've been kicking about for the past...
Too long.
Yeah. So, like, you were cemented here for a long time, and I think that's maybe where it stemmed from. When I first met you, you were just the way to get your face tattooed.
I'll try and rewind back. So I'd been tattooing. I started tattooing when I was 22, and for the first few years, I was like just learning and fanning about and doing like stuff with like various different styles and that. But I'd always had an attraction to just like plain black tattooing and like stuff that would be considered like tribal tattooing. You know, like there was just symbols and like lines and patterns and shit. So I knew that I wanted to do something. I wasn't really interested in colouring that. I'd experimented with it a wee bit, and I went and I was kind of looking at like geometric sort of tattooing and that, and I had been for years because there was a guy that appeared in Skin Deep Tattoo magazine called Zed Head, who ended up becoming friendly with over the years.
This is the boy down in London you go and see.
I'd followed his work kind of loosely anyway over the years, and he'd done like a style of tattooing called like dot work or like geometric dot work or whatever, and him and this French guy called Thomas were the two people that sort of like pioneered it really within tattooing and like brought it to a high level. And randomly, like I was at London Tattoo Convention one year, and I was not with, but there was a guy that I was kind of half with there called Howie. There's a body modification artist that I used to kind of hang about with, and I had told him that I quite wanted to get my face tattooed. And there was two people that I'd thought about. There was Zed, like the guy that we're speaking about, and a guy called Dave Archer. I think he was from Florida, but Dave Archer ended up ODing on OxyContin and he died. And obviously that never happened. And then like I hadn't got my face tattooed, but I think I was maybe about 24 at the time. I'd been tattooing a couple of years, and I had a little bit of tattooing on my face that I'd done with a tattoo convention by hand, like Polynesian sort of style, like when the tap it, but it was small. Anyway, I spoke to my mate Howie about like my idea for getting my face tattooed, and he was like, you need to see Zed. Anyway, Zed ended up being at this tattoo convention. I bumped into Howie introduced me, had a little chat, and Zed had actually just left the studio that he was working with and was working in a new place in Islington in Essex. So he was like, just come down whenever, like in a week or two, because like I got the sack, so I'm like starting up again. I was like, cool. So I was really fortunate because he was like mega popular and like you couldn't get in with him. So it was almost just like something that was written. It was written. So I come back to Dundee and I had my plans and that to go back down. Went and got my face tattooed, a lot bigger than what it should have been, and I probably upset quite a lot of people in the process. But I was happy with that and I liked it. It took a little bit of adjustment time in that. I used to do the freaking that about having it, and I would look in the mirror and be like, oh, what have I done? But like, well, I was fucked by then anyway, so I just continued down the road. You know what I mean? And that was like when I really started enjoying it, because I liked the people that were doing it and enjoyed how they were and what they were interested in, whether it be regarding tattooing or like anything, you know, like fit.
Like a sort of inspiring time.
Yeah, it was like, it was really inspiring. Like they were all super creative and all high level tattooists, and I was basically a total noob. Like I didn't really know anything. So I never like got trained as such, but I would just absorb as much information as humanly possible every time when I went down, and try not to pester anyone for too much information. But Zed was a good guy.
Yeah,
like
master of the trade.
He was a master, yeah, and he helped me fucking loads. Like, yeah, I'm like, oh, everything to him basically. And that was it. That was the beginning of it. So I was obviously like, you know what it's like fucking Dundee, or not just Dundee, but Scotland is about 10 years behind London, right? It just is.
Yeah.
It just is. It's dated. Like, and everyone's always like, it's a townie mentality. No one wants to do anything that's really like out the norm. But I was like, this is like a perfect place to do it, because Dundee is, as you said, quite accepting of things. And I just decided, fuck it, I'm just going to like start tattooing, like no colour. So I told like the guy I used to work for, like, I'm not doing any colour work anymore. I don't care if I lose business. Like, I'm not like arsed about it. I'm happy to take that on the chin so that I can do what I want, because, well, money isn't everything.
Yeah.
So initially I did take a wee bit of a hit. Like financially it was hard, and I was like juggling things and just having it decline work. And probably maybe it seemed like it was being egotistical, but it wasn't anything to do with that. It was to do with...
You had a goal that you were trying to achieve.
I wanted to get to this point, and I wanted to be a specialist artist, and I wanted to do what I enjoyed doing, which was black tattooing, dot work, and like geometry, and like tribal-based kind of work and that. But I started off doing the dot work because I found that the technique of doing that was easier to pick up, and to put in solid black and solid line in that. Even now, it's still, people look at it and that are not tattooists and they think, oh, that's a lot of shite. It's just like a bit of black or, like a few thick lines or whatever. But simplicity is difficult in all art forms to execute.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, to capture that.
Like if you're an abstract painter or whatever and you're painting like, whatever, like Mark Rothko painting or whatever, and it's like, blue and orange on yellow or something, and people don't understand that to make that look incredible, you have to be a master, because if there's anything in it that's just, people go, oh, I could do that myself. I'm like, well, do it. So you give them it, you give them the tools and that, and it looks shit. But the reason is because they don't understand like how to do it properly, whether it be technically or creatively. They just don't get it. So like after all them years of tattooing and all the shit that fucking I've had to deal with, still two of the hardest things is pulling really thick, bold lines and putting in really solid black. And in Dundee, fortunately, it kind of kicked off, and there was a few different people in that like helped me along the way. So like Zed in that obviously initially, there was a few kind of key people like that I was friends with to do like the fashion world and that. A guy called Jay Reid that was like Jilted Royalty Clothing, like he helped me quite a bit. There was fucking, I'm trying to think who else like sort of helped me along the way. There was just this like array of like a guy called Shannon Larratt that's now passed on that would run a place called BME Zine, which was a body modification blog kind of space for finding information and that. And it was prior to like Facebook and that really being popular, and there was a community on it. You
had to actually go out and you had
to find it. You couldn't just find it. You couldn't go on now. You go on Instagram, all the tattoos.
That's probably like explaining it, because like at the time there was nothing like this at the time, nothing like it. Like, you kickstarted. It's super interesting to me, because I said this to you earlier on. Like say 5-6 years ago, right? Fast forward, I was doing nothing basically. Mates, luckily enough, I was mates with you and your brother, and I found it honestly inspiring to come down and see what yous were doing. Like the people were coming far and wide to be tattooed for you. You know what I mean? There was this vibe with it. There was this artistic, all this like, I had no artistic knowledge at all at the time until like it was drilled in.
Just like the energy of it.
Yeah, I was honestly, I was inspiring. Like I could actually see like everybody always tells you can't do it. You know what I mean? You can't do it. Like, yeah, this is what I mean. You to see like, I actually seen Dundee boys that I knew, they were sitting doing it and they were doing it well. You know what I mean? And that to me, like, I was inspiring.
I think that Dundee in that though, there's a lot of people in that like they encourage you initially, but then when you start
they don't want you to do well.
Yeah, like they're pissed off about it and like, you're a dick. But like I've been fucking grafting now, 16 years, 6 days a week, fucking very minimal time off, regardless of having family and that. Still done it. Not just to do with money or anything, just to do with this like fucking obsession with being better, because if you're not doing something all the time, you're never going to be great at it. Yeah, and even when you get better at it, you can still be better. And there's loads of people that are shitting all over your work and that, and you're like constantly inspired to try and get better and get better. So my panic is that I'm wasting time doing other shit when I should be applying it to my work.
Yeah.
And you can't get away from that. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. You're still like, I said like this year, I'm going out 5 days a week. I'm not.
Yeah, I don't think you'll ever go down 5 days a week.
I might eventually, but it'll be to do something else creative. It won't just to be like...
Because wait, just sit about the house, it doesn't work,
does
it?
Like, I'm doing like a wee project and that now. So my grandfather was like a lapidary artist, right, when I was younger, and he used to facet gemstones. And he made jewellery and that, right? So he wasn't an artist.
I must get a dying trade that.
Well, Ken, what, mate? It isn't. It's not like jewellery design and that now is massive. And I follow like a bunch of different guys. This guy called Matthew Roman and Nolan Spooner and a guy called Saf Brooks and that. They're all from America. And they're making this like far out amazing jewellery and that.
Is any of these boys that have done like that stuff for that 6ix9ine and everything? You know,
nah, they're probably more like not as like, I don't know, like
outlandish is that.
Yeah, they're more like classical like fucking jewellery and that, like not as like flashy and like Americanized and that, more like stuff what I would consider to be like tasteful. So you got all these like mega like big sort of companies and that, and they build all that jewelry for 6ix9ine and that, and it's all, you know, like done with machines and all that kind of shit. But these are all like handmade jewelry and stuff. So anyway, my grandpa and that, I remember when I was a kid and that, I was into like fucking looking at these gemstones and that, and I just thought it was amazing. And I've always kind of fancied doing it, but mate, how the fuck do you figure out to do that? But I have. So
YouTube videos or
I just like decided that I'm going to like for this year, like any spare cash and that really I've got that I'm not needing, I'm just going to buy bits and pieces of equipment. So I've just fucking been like stacking up all this shit, like all this Dremels, like flexi hand tools and like diamond cutting trim saws and all this shit. And I've managed to, through YouTube and like various bits and pieces online, and a guy called Mark Rules and that's been helping me with information, set up everything now. So I've got like a fucking lab in my house, and I'm away over the autumn and winter just knuckle down and start learning how to carve gems.
Dude, right, well,
I don't think there's any money in it really for me. I mean, like, because the cost of the tools
it's a family thing. You want to,
that's what I mean? I just want to keep it going. Yeah, like, because my grandpa was a cool guy, and there's a lot of stones that he had that are like unfinished. I don't have many of them because I don't speak to my grandmother really. But the ones that I do have, I would like to like finish them. So just the thing, like, it's not to do with money. No,
is there anything you want to like particularly design, like any sort of piece or that?
Nah, it's only there's one stone in that in particular I want to learn to carve called fire agate, and it's just been a significant stone that like has come up in my life loads. My grandpa used to carve it and window it or whatever, and I seen it years ago, and then when I was in London and that, and I met Zed, he collected it, and I just thought it was an amazing. It's dead psychedelic looking. It's all like multicoloured. And normally with gems and that, you have to facet them in a way that's like flat, but these have to be cut organically because the layers of colour only exist organically within the stone. So you've got to like strip back the excess to get to the gem.
Polish it essentially.
Yeah, polish them. Strip them back and polish them basically. So that's my next venture. But apart from that, I'll not be taking any time off. I love like getting my Sunday off and that because I get to hang out with my kids and that and my family and like do family shit mostly.
How is it? How is the new studio going actually? It's looking mint.
Yeah, it's good, mate. It's been like fucked up with all this nonsense that's going on in the world just now, obviously. I'll not even bore everyone to tears, but I basically think it's a lot of bullshit. Don't care what anyone thinks. Don't want to take part on it in any level. And this like Nazi fucking government and that they've got in place. Anyway, the shop out with that has been fine. It's doing really well. We've got me and Calum there and a guy called Joshua who's banging tattooist. Calum and Joshua are both doing like black and grey realism mainly. Calum obviously does some colour in that as well. And then I'm doing like probably like all the pattern based work, black work and that. And we've got a girl called Jessica who's doing like more like fine line, kind of like more feminine stuff and that.
So full team.
And then Josh, he's like shop manager, but he's been apprenticing in that and starting to do some decent work in that as well. So the shop's good, man. And like it's got a good vibe and we wanted like, obviously we used to work for another place and it was good for years and it just kind of like turned a bit sour in that eventually. So it was important for us to get out.
But the space you've got now compared to what you were working with.
Yeah, well, we're working in a cupboard for years and like I put up with it. I've got people like traveling like from all over the world and that, like, you know what I mean? Like a guy from Dubai and like people from Europe and like America and whatever. And they're coming into this shop and it's just like a cupboard. Like it was embarrassing. It got to the point because I'm like, I'm grafting and doing all this stuff and I'm not getting supported in any way whatsoever. And I just got to the point where I was just like, you know what, fuck it. So we take the leap of faith. It was really stressful. We thought it would have taken a couple of months to finish it. It didn't. It took nearly a year because I was schizo about what I wanted to look like. But every room when you come in now, like the shop from the outside is nothing. It's one floor up, it's private.
It's detailed to the finest detail.
Yeah, it's like grand. Like
is it Versace wallpaper and stuff?
Yeah, most of it's Versace wallpaper and that, or like some kind of decadent style wallpaper. I like things to be like interesting and like overkill, really. I want it to look like luxury and like regal. And in the old shop, because I wasn't in charge of the finances getting spent on what was going into the, you know, like you can't like have a cool fucking space to work in if you don't put a wee bit of what you've earned into it. Like it doesn't work like that. You know what it's like yourself? Like whatever you put in comes back tenfold anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
That's life.
Yeah.
If you put that shit out there, it'll come back to you. You don't need to worry about it. Like,
yeah, everything I've got goes into the front of that shop to try and mark it look.
But like the higher powers that be take care of it.
If you work hard at something, and like you said, you described earlier on, if you work hard at something, it's like you're dedicated. And I find with me, when I'm doing something, I'm my own worst critic. You know what I mean? You're trying to look for something that somebody's going to pick apart or whatever.
But I mean, people do pick everything apart. You know what I mean? I know, like, I posted up a tattoo the other day, and like, it was up, I can't even remember what it was, and it was something, and like, it was a good tattoo. Like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It was fine. Like, and the person was happy about it. I was happy about it. And really, that's only two people that should matter. Me and them. If they're happy about it, we're like, pose it up. And some like absolute knob from like, I don't know, a European guy. I looked on his page after he's put this rude comment, and he's like, a tattooing apprentice, age 30. Like, get a grip of yourself. Why are you fucking apprenticing at age 30? You know what I mean? Like, what have you been doing? And I looked on his page, and he's got these shit drawings and that, and he's put this like comment, like criticising my work and like saying it was shite and that. And like, even if he thinks that, one, if you were a professional, you wouldn't have put that. You would have just ignored that.
Yeah,
and two, the only person he's really insulting is the guy that's got it. So I just blocked him off it. And then like 2 seconds later, he's on his girlfriend's account, like giving me shit. What, you think you can just block me? I'm like, yeah, fuck you as well. I'm like, anyone that like is like that brings negativity to your life and that, they're better.
They go out your way to bring it to like toward. I get that as well. I was getting it last night.
Shit.
I was getting it last night. I took a photo of a pair of trainers and I forgot to take the label off, you know, so it had the price. Oh, honestly, every hard man for down south just jumping on it, calling us this, calling us that.
Oh, yeah, people love it because they're little fucking assholes. They sit behind their computer and that, and it's dead easy to be horrible.
No consequences, people. Basically.
Nah, yeah, like it's not like before you're cheeky to someone in the street, you'll get a slap, so you're polite. And I still try and live my life being polite to people that deserve it. Like, if people are nice to me, I'm nice with them. Someone's an asshole, I'll usually just try and dismiss it. But if it's something like that, like, why shouldn't you be confronted about it? You're a fucking dick. You should be picked up. But to waste energy on it, I just don't want to do it anymore. I'm too old for that shit.
When it happens quite a lot, you learn to try and not let it get to you as much because you know it can ruin your day, sort of thing.
Yeah, it does. Like, and you absorb that, like other people's shit. So they're like putting their, probably if they're giving you shit, what really is that they've got something going on in their life that they're unhappy with, and they're projecting on you.
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
And then you're absorbing it and you're making it your shit to deal with. But I was just like, do you know what, fuck it. I don't even care if people like my work. I like doing my work, and anyone that wants my work comes to me, and anyone that doesn't doesn't.
See when you're like, even as big as you are in the game that you are, it's always you always get the people who are just going to be negative for no reason. Some people just don't like to see people do it.
No, they don't.
You know
Not
what
at
I mean?
all. It's a massive thing here. Like, I think it's a Scottish thing, like, really. Maybe a British thing. I'm not really sure, obviously. But, I mean, when you go other places in the world, even like, right, so this sort of shit. I was down in London and that, and I just kick about wearing whatever I'm wearing. Like, I don't want anyone's fucking, like, praise or anything. People in Dundee don't give you it anyway. Most of them probably slag you as soon as you walk past. But, like, in London and that, like, I got approached, like, I don't know, like half a dozen times minimum by like various different types of people, just being polite, you know, like saying like, oh, I love like what you're wearing, or it's a nice style, and I was like, fucking hell, man, I was so taken back by it because that doesn't happen here.
Yeah.
People are always just like negative, and you do anything that's a bit weird and that. I know because it's happened my whole life. People pick it apart and that, but eventually, if you persist, they'll leave you alone. And not only that, they actually respect you for doing it. You know, like people years ago that'd be like, oh, you look like a fucking whatever wearing that. And now they're like, oh, it's so cool what you wear.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Even boys that have got like loads of dough and that to spend and that. There's a handful of people that are individuals and doing their own thing and that. But a lot of people, despite being well dressed and that, they don't have anything about it that's unique to them because they've not put any heart and soul into it. They've just went in, got a big blob of cash and went, what's popular, what's everyone wearing, this, and this, I'll get that. So you go out and you've spunked like, you know, like £1,000 on a jacket and there's 2 or 3 other boys wearing it. Like, I don't want to fucking be part of that.
Yeah, that's I find that a lot with Stone Island, like sort of jumpers and stuff.
Yeah,
you know
like I love Stone Island. I'm mega into it. But like, yeah, there's a lot of like, you know, like certain like colorways and certain materials and certain cuts and that everyone just jumps on it and that. And I think like even like obviously like Manifesto's the main stockist for Stone Island, the only stockist for real like proper one, meant to be, yeah, and Dundee. All the rest of it, in my opinion, shouldn't even be here. But anyway, they get stuff in because they have to sell it. But if they get anything in that's a bit flamboyant and that, minus maybe me and like a couple other people, no one's going to look at it. And it's really sad, like, because other places, not even like Glasgow or whatever, you'll go in and they've just got like brands that are dead interesting and new and fresh and like styles that are like, you know, and people like they're on it, like they want to be part of it. But here, no one will wear it until loads of other people are wearing it.
Yeah, it's more hype cities as well, especially Glasgow. That's a real hype city.
Yeah, they're into it. Like they're like obviously stuff like Her and Preston or Supreme or like Cold Wall and all that sort of shit. They're stocking all that like new designers.
You see in the streets like they're all wear off-white trainers.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean?
Like here it's not really.
Yeah, you don't see any of that here.
You see basically like Stone Island, CP Company, Ralph Lauren, like fucking all the like casual kind of brands and that.
With the trainer game sort of changed here with the kids. They're all they're wanting to wear the Alexander McQueen's, your Balenciagas, you know what?
Yeah, because my wee girl's asking for them.
Yeah, like that's the trend that they want. They're bringing. In my shop personally, like the McQueen's I get on the weekly basis.
I love them. I like them. I mean, I think like Alexander McQueen anyway. Like as a designer, he's one of my favorite designers, or was of all time. Like not really the brand now because like he's not around, but especially the women's wear, like Alexander McQueen to me for women's wear is like king. Like just that combination of like, it was always like, it always had a vaguely Scottish feel to it, didn't it? And it was like leather and lace and tartan, and it was super like, almost like cut in a masculine way because he was a tailor, wasn't he? He was like tailored at like Savile Row or something. So like there was a huge influence of tailoring and that on it. But some of the Alexander McQueen stuff, obviously like the trainers and that gets sold. Now I feel that they just get sold on the name, which they do. Yeah. Because they're essentially a Stan Smith with a chunky sole.
That's been said on this podcast before. Yeah. The heel tab's slightly bigger. That's
I mean, I'm not against them. I think they look pretty cool and like certain people suit them and that. But for the money that they cost, I would have something that was more unique.
That's one of the lower end prices just now.
What,
as well.
About 400 quid or 450?
About 350, 400, I think. Yeah, they're rock runners. They Balenciaga. Is it Balenciaga? Valentino rock runners. They're getting a lot of them coming in as well now.
I would just rather have 3 pairs of Air Max because I feel like Nike in general and Adidas both like are like well-made trainers that have been made by people that know what they're doing for a long time. They're functional and that, and that's probably like the older pure dad in me. Like, but I just think some stuff is a wee bit of a piss take. Like for unique trainers and that, like stuff that's like really like out there. Like I love Balenciaga shit and that. People don't like it. They think it's snide or it's like oversized or whatever. But I'm like, but no other thing looks like that. And anything that does look like that is a copy of it. So like I don't mind spunking the money on
they're
that.
copying it now, like the sock runner especially,
yeah. Fucking, and the triple S's, you see a lot of like the people copying them. But like in regards to like buying these like high end trainers that are like really basic looking and not actually that comfortable and that, I usually tend to avoid it. I've got some Gucci ones, a few Balenciagas and that.
One boy came in my shop saying he spent £1,200 on sliders for Valentino sliders. I was like,
you got fleeced. That's a fucking
£1,200 on sliders.
I don't even think I've spent it on a pair of trainers, to be honest. Like, nah, I don't think I've spent it on coats and that, but I've not spent it on trainers.
That's a serious price tag, yeah. For to be going about, I think this was for next year or whatever else. You know what I mean? Because
if you want to look like you're fucking big player or whatever, then
if you've got £1,200 to spend on sliders.
If you're happy with them, I don't think anything's too much.
But all that are black and they've got Valentino across it. Is that?
Yeah, another one.
They could easily be faked, you know.
Yeah, I got bummed. But yeah, I think like anything like value and stuff, like money in general is like, if it's worth it to you, then it's worth it. It doesn't matter if everyone goes, you're mad paying that for that. You're like, well, it's only expensive till you bought it. Mm-hmm. And once you bought it and you own it, you've not got the money anyway.
I always say it's like trainers especially, it's like music. Everybody's going to have a different opinion. You know, who's to say who's right or whatever?
I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks about anything. Like,
if you like it, you like it.
Yeah, buy it if I like it. I don't care what the cost of it is and that. If I've got it, I'll get it. If I really want it, I'll save for it. Like, whatever. And if it's not that important to you, then you just leave it. But no one's really in a position to tell anyone what's important and unimportant, like with anything. Like, no one's in the position to tell anyone anything. We're all born equal. You know what I mean? Really.
But look, do you have a pair of the Sean Witherspoons?
I never got them. I got offered them, like, they came out in size actually in Dundee when it was open.
Yeah, there was a queue for them, I remember.
And a girl phoned me or like mailed me or something from the queue saying, I'm in the queue for them. Someone said that you might want them. Are you wanting them? And I went, nah, because I don't like them. Like, I know they're worth doing that now. Foolishly, maybe you should have bought them. But I just think they're really like a shit trainer. Like, and they're a 1 or a 90 with a 1 sole or something like that.
Yeah,
got a 1 sole and then a different upper on them. And the corduroy ones, like, and I just like.
Yeah, it was the corduroy thing.
They only really go with either cords or jeans. And I've got like one pair of cards and like no jeans. I don't really wear jeans. So they wouldn't go with anything I wear. They don't shit with trackies and that because they're too smart.
I've cleaned a couple of pairs. The colour seems to just fall out.
Yeah, they were only like, she wanted $450 for them or something. Yeah.
$450. What was that on the day?
On the day.
Jeez.
Yeah, but I mean, think what they're worth now.
A boy I know got offered a pair for $350.
Ah, really? Yeah, well, I thought
You never took it.
You should have.
When he came back and asked me if I could get a pair, they were sitting about $1,200.
I got the Sean Witherspoons. I've not worn them. I just bought them because I might end up flogging them like at some point later on. I sometimes do that. I'll just buy things that I think maybe at some point might be worth money and then flog them. I don't know if they will though. The Adidas Superstars. With the threads.
Yeah, the threads coming out. He done the Super Earth right after that.
Yeah.
He seems to be doing a lot with Adidas. He's doing a Jiminy cricket next.
I'm just not that keen on like Sean Witherspoon's kind of like vibe. I'm sure he's a nice enough guy, but like what he wears and that is, it's all like thrifty kind of like, it's not as much what I'm into. The other girl, so Sean Witherspoon ended up getting that shoe with Nike because of it was like
won a competition,
And the second person that came in was Minnie Swoosh, who's like a chick that owns Studio, I don't know if she owns or like, it was one of the main people at Studio Alch. And she designed an Air Max and it came second. And I just like sort of dismissed his one because I didn't like it. I liked hers and I followed her. So Studio Alch originally was like selling reconstructed like Nike shit, and she was well into it. I think she was just like a young designer and
probably in love with the brand.
Yeah, she used to make like crazy like bras and shit out of like Nike socks, and like I bought like she done a limited set. I think it was 50 or maybe 25. I can't remember. Pair of dungarees I've got. I've never worn them. I just got them as collector's piece, but they're made out of 2 Nike duffel bags, and I also got a gilet that's made out of 1 Nike duffel bag. I'd probably fit as now. It was a bit porky for a wee while. It was looking a bit tight. But fucking that's who I ended up following from that competition. And I think her work is sick. Like, but Sean Witherspoon, like, is he not like part of like round 2?
Yeah, he's I think he's the co-founder of it. Yeah.
So like and like that round 2 to me is the epitome of everything I hate in the retail because it's a reseller. Like it's shit. I don't want to be part of that.
What was the last trainer that you got, the hype trainer?
I've not really bought much. I don't really always go on hype now. I just buy what I like, and I usually buy for an outfit. So if I see like a jacket or like whatever that I like, I'll wait and eventually I'll just house the jacket. I don't care if it goes out of season or that. And then if I see a pair of trainers that looks like, oh, sick, I'll just remember right away the exact colourway. I'll go with that and I'll buy them. I bought these fucking Air Max 95s maybe like last week or something. First day I've worn them. Just like the silhouette, like the colourway. And I bought a pair of Air Pegasus the other day, which I wouldn't ever normally, but they were like cool, like bone colour, like cream and bone and kind of pale grey. They're like a dad shoe, and they'll probably go with loads of stuff. But yeah,
it's a good colour to have, man.
Yeah, I've not bought loads of like hype trainers and that. Probably all those Air Max ones, like the Lemonades and that. I got them and the duck camos. Apart from that, I had a few that I've got a couple of the off-white models and that.
Still big on Yeezys?
Yeah, I've got some. I don't really wear that. So the original Yeezys that I was like fucking started first buying was the 350 Boost.
You were the first person to let me try it on, actually.
They're comfy.
It was the first time I tried the Boost sole.
Yeezys are sick, like, but I was the only like Yeezy 350 Boost that I'm super into still is the frozen yellow, the like piss yellow. Well good. I've got a pair that I've not even worn, but the story with them goes, I ended up paying 750 quid for a pair resale because I wanted them so much. I just wanted them. And I got them, and I ended up stupidly, I forgot I'm one size up. So I'm a 10.5 normally. I need to buy 11.5 in the easy, but 10.5, fuck, they're too small. So I eventually sold them, but only ended up getting like 400 or something from them. So I lost quite a bit on them. And then they fucking re-released them, the cunts.
Yeah, they're bad for that.
You can't do that, you know what I mean? No. So, but anyway, I ended up getting them on the second release. I think either at retail or like not much more than what I meant.
They released the 8ZX collection last year. There was a couple of pairs that were only meant to be coming out with like 300. The Atmos store especially, there was like this green furry pair. Yeah. The 300 they were only released in Japan. And then, so everybody was paying like, the boy for Dundee that I know, he paid, I think it was 400 or 500 to get a pair here. And he got a free pair of socks. But then they re-released that, general, boom. There you go.
They do stuff like that. It's quite annoying. The Yeezys now don't really follow them very much. The only silhouette that I like is a 500.
Everybody's going daft for the sliders just now.
Yeah, I think they're pretty cool. I've tried to get them a couple of times through like End Clothing and that, but I mean, there's no point because you never get them. But the 500 model is like super nice, like chunky, like a moon boot. I've got
I've seen that, yeah.
Got the soft visions, like the pale lilacs, and I've got like the more concrete, like the stone ones. I think I've got maybe 3 pairs of them, but I like Yeezys, but I feel like they're almost kind of like uncool now because like everyone wears them. So like before, like no one really had them.
They were a lot less. They were a lot more limited back at the start.
There was
as
like
well.
small runs of them and that. Now, remember when they brought out the whites, like the planes, and they brought 1 million units.
Was that how much?
1 million units. So like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I bought 2 pairs of them just to customize, but like I wouldn't have bought them and kept them plain white because I'm like 1 million people are wearing them.
Someone you said to me always stuck with me. It was David Beckham done more for tattooing than anybody.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, no one likes to admit that because it's like fucking dick out all that cheesy tattoo, and like loads of tattoos and that against that. But if he hadn't come along and popularised tattooing to the masses, most tattoos wouldn't be in the position they're in now. Because tattoos have been bolted into like a much higher position than what they used to be. Tattooing was for the fucking drags, basically. It was for sailors and like all that sort of shit. And it was for like people that were like, I don't know, like more like common people. Like it wasn't considered an art form.
More a working class thing.
Yeah, it wasn't an art form, it was a trade. So when he came along in that, and he was like, you know, like not heavily tattooed, but he had like his sleeve. He
got his back on wings and stuff,
and like fucking, and like all the kids and that just liked that, and it helped like popularize it. I don't know if it's like a good thing or not, because in a way it maybe like ruined like what once was. But I think tattooing will be like everything. I think it'll always be around, but there'll be a lull in it at some point, unfortunately. But the lull will mean that the people that do come to you are enthusiasts, and you won't deal with as much riffraff. I mean, to be honest, I don't deal much of that anyway, because the work I make is so specialist now that only people that come to you are people that are digging.
You're not doing names and all this stuff.
Nah, like,
you're doing art pieces.
I mean, I'm not like snobby about it. If someone really wants me to do a name for them, I'll do a name for them. Or if I can do it for them, you know, a wee flower or whatever, and they really want me to do it, and I'll make a good job of it. But I've been tattooing for that long that I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm not challenging myself.
You got to be challenging yourself every single day.
Everything you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like whatever.
You've always got to keep it fresh. It's always got to be evolving. Or if it sticks, like
you'll be the same. Like look at all that stuff that you're doing with Natalie and that now. You know what I mean? Like you want to push the limit of what you're doing.
You've got that. You've got to keep it. You've got to have goals, especially.
Yeah, like what is your life without having a wee bit of a plan? It just fucking falls apart. Like I need discipline. Like I need to have something else to be learning from and to look forward to it. And I try and like all the different things that I'm interested in, I try and
take a bit from that.
Try and like use one to influence the other one. So even like, it sounds so sad, right? But like if I'm picking an outfit in that, it's no different from me like designing a tattoo for your body. So I'll think about like the balance of things. Like if there's a flash of colour here, there should be a flash of colour there. Is there something that I want to pick out? So maybe if I want my new trainers that are like, you know, like neon fucking green or something, but I don't want to go about like clowny looking, so I'll wear all black and then highlight them and maybe have like a small amount of neon green, you know, on something else. And it's just like taking into consideration like detail and like structure, and like that's the same as tattooing. There's no different from me picking an outfit than designing the tattoo. None. Same thing, same process.
It's a cool way to describe
and
it,
like
man,
DJing ties into it as well, because you're like designing sound. So like I like to get myself into a mind state after a joint where I'm like really relaxed and I can enjoy like piecing together these different types of music and like making them into like a canvas of sound. Does that make any sense?
Definitely, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that like you're amalgamating all these different ideas and like bringing them together into one new sound. I'm not into producing or that, but like I wish I was better because I would like to be able to do that, but I'm just not. Like it's, and tattooing.
There's only so many hours in the day,
man. Yeah, you can't do everything. You've just, I mean, like tattooing's like what I do, and all that other shit's just like
music for me personally has always been a massive.
Yeah, and it's influenced what you look like.
Yeah,
it's influenced your style.
Like loads of like without music, I don't know. It'd be very, very bland.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
because like all the like music and that probably that you're into, I imagine. So a lot of the clothing and that, like it echoes that.
It goes, a lot of music starts, well, even like scenes, you know what I mean? Like trends of like, what, like start with the 60s, you could go like the Mods or Perry Boys or something. Evolve that into like the 70s with skinheads, so, you know, like the sort of ska culture.
You can always trace back like the roots of it.
Yeah, you can, and where it started, like, and there's usually a trend to go with it as well, you know what I mean?
Like, you know, like scooters and like music and like fucking, and then I think like now it's like more diverse because of the internet. So it's not so like contained. But I imagine that years ago in that, if you were like in the 70s, say like 1969ers or whatever, Summer of Love, and like everyone's like partying, there's like the hippie movement in San Francisco, but then somewhere else there's a totally different movement, but you weren't exposed to it.
Yeah.
So the only things that became like 60s shit or 70s shit was the stuff that was in the biggest places.
Yeah, what you were seeing, yeah.
And eventually it'd filter its
Woodstock,
way
San
to
Francisco,
whatever,
hippies,
That's
Charles
what you-
Manson.
Yeah,
you know
like
what
you
I mean?
associate those things with that. But now, because like everyone has access to like global information and like stuff at your fingertips, cultures and that kind of happening with pods locally and like within areas and stuff.
You'll see outside your shop just now, the rollerblading culture is starting to take off in Dundee a wee bit. Right, so
Yeah,
that's
I've
Celeste
seen bits
Gardens.
of it. Yeah, like I stay like near Duddart Park, and they've got the skate park and that up there, and like, I take the two young lads and
Even
that.
skateboarding now. Remember,
Skateboarding's massive now. Like
all
yeah,
these
it's
skate
huge.
parks, all like
There used to be like when I was into graffiti and that years ago, there was a skate park in that up in Hawk Hill.
Minnie was part of that because he told me about that and stuff. It was all half pipes. I've seen
Damn
it
it, it
once.
was all hand built and that. It was really cool, like DIY culture and that, and everyone was put in on it. And I was like shite on a skateboard basically because it was wee fat cunt. Like so, I got into graffiti and like a guy called Michael I used to kick about where we would go up there nearly every weekend, man, like Saturday, Sunday, as soon as we were off school and just like batter up like full colour paintings and all that sort of stuff. They were like making like wee mini ramps and filming bits of skating. There was a guy called Stevie Chapman and that. He still like publicises loads of it now. He does like a clothing label called Cho, which is CHO, Check Hockey Out, and it's actually to do with that Hawk Hill skate park. He's on Instagram and that. He still prints t-shirts and that.
I didn't even know
Yeah,
that. no.
yeah, Stevie Chapman, like so. And after that, I ended up getting into doing two-tone graffiti, like bombing, like black and grey, like black and silver, and tagging, like illegally, because you want to like paint. So that then stripped down. It ties in with tattooing actually, because I went from doing full colour shit because I had time to do it to doing really stripped back black and silver. Black tags and that, and I'd go out during the night and that with a few of my mates and like bomb loads of stuff and like wreck the place. And as I got older than that, obviously, and I got into like partying and music and all that kind of shit, I stopped doing graffiti. But the tattooing that I'm interested in now emulates it in some ways, and it's heavily influenced by graffiti because fucking that stripped back nature. Like I'm at my happiest, mate, with a couple of Sharpie markers, a big Magnum needle, and like a one-liner and a pot of black. Like no fucking fussy shit. Even I've got loads of tattoo machines and that. I only really use one or two of them because I just like the simplicity of how they work. And it was the same with graffiti and that.
I find now with tattoos, like I find when somebody is like doing their own thing, you know what I mean, just like tattoos here and there, if they stick to just black, that looks so much better.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like even if you like amalgamate different styles and that on a body, but it's all done in black, it'll always look like there's a continuity within it.
Mm-hmm.
Like even people that are covered in like, you know, like shit, like not shit, but like, you know, like small kind of like Russian prison style stuff, like jailhouse looking shit and that. It looks sick when there's like loads of it and it's all just in black and it's like super like dense all over them. But when you do it and it's like a bit of colour, a bit of black, a bit of this, it looks just shite in your body. Like the problem is that people treat their body as separate things. So like a finger, a hand, an arm, a leg, you're one unit, you know, you're stuck in one cube of meat. So I just kind of think like that thing should be,
The whole game.
yeah, like not for everyone because some people will never take it to that level. But if you have some vision and foresight that you might want to do that, you should really think about like, how am I going to piece this together in a way that is coercive, is collectively good.
You should be sitting down and thinking about what you're going to do before just rushing.
Yeah, I was like, I've ended up really heavily blacked because I had a lot of shite to cover up. But I don't mind it because I would have probably had something along the lines of anyway with a bit more detail. And the work that I do is good for that, like getting rid of old things. And a lot of the time people come in and when they're younger and that, you know, they've maybe got bits and pieces of shite and that all over them and they need it to look as one. Because it just looks better. So I always just take like the body into consideration and like the flow of like the movement of them and that, and I try and fit something to them that looks like good. And black helps like fix all that kind of stuff. You know?
That's the style that you've got, and that's the style you're.
Yeah, I
like,
just stick
you've
with
made it work
that.
for you.
I don't
yeah.
think I'll ever change that. I mean, maybe like, but fucking, I feel like there's so much that you can do with only black, and so much that I've not done and experimented with that. Why would I then introduce another element to it that's completely unnecessary? And yeah, it's just like overcomplicating something that is best in its most simple nature. Like tattooing that I find, not to everyone's taste, the most powerful is stuff that's really stripped back and simple and bold and readable. And it lasts the test of time because people don't ever think about like, how is my skin going to age? Like, what is this going to look like in 20, 30, 40, 50 years? Like, and not that it matters because I mean, who gives a fuck? You get old and like, but for me, like when you see all these wee old women in that and they're in like Tahiti or like Indonesia and shit, and they're covered in all these like black marking, but it just looks good, man. Like for me, the two best forms of tattooing is Japanese and tribal based because it lasts and it looks good.
This has been going on throughout the ages
Yeah,
as well.
it's just like, even like, you know, like you get people doing more modern versions of them, like, you know, like what people now would consider to be better. So it's like more like realistic, smoother blends, blah, blah, blah. And they look sick. But let's see them in 40 years and see what ones still look sick.
I like see Japan is like an actual island, well, an island, a country. You know what I mean? Like the shoes specifically in the vintage market for me, like the Japanese, there's just nothing comes close to it.
And then from the West in Japan,
yeah,
and like fucking, I've never even been to Japan, but I've been like interested in Japanese culture for years, and their fashion market in general is amazing. And like people seem to have like an abundance of cash, and like they're well into like sort of like European and like big name designers and stuff. And they get so many cool shit that we don't get, like in far out colors and like cool like materials and like limited collabs, and like we don't get any of that. Like see all that Harajuku area in Japan, like the main fashion bit, the way like the people go about and everything, like it's just on a totally different level. Like I love Japanese fashion, but a lot of it doesn't fit me because of the scale of their average people, you know what I mean? Like it's different to here. Yeah, I can get some stuff like, you know, sneakers and that, but I can't get fucking like much like in the way of like garments or anything. I think that always holds me back. Like even in Manifesto and that sell like needles and all that kind of stuff, and I really like it, but the fit on it for me isn't very great.
Yeah.
Fashion heavily influences my tattooing, like mega, without people knowing. Even like all my book collection and that in the house, or like a lot of it is like fashion shit. And I like going through it all in that and like textiles and fabric and that, and just looking like for pattern design, placement, you know, like Alexander McQueen, for instance, right? He makes these sick dresses on women. And I just look at like where the lines are, you know, like the where the fabrics are fastened, like where they're stitched.
Yeah.
And you can
where they're gonna meet.
Yeah, where it meets. And you can almost like use that as a template of how to make something look beautiful on a woman or whatever, because it looks like a beautiful dress. So if you just follow the contouring of it.
Right, okay.
I just follow it and I just kind of think like that's, and I wouldn't like steal it, but you know, I'll be like influenced by it or whatever.
Every sort of idea is influenced from someone else.
Yeah, of course, everything. 100%. Anyone that says otherwise is a fucking liar.
How did the idea come about for the Brutal Black project?
So like the Black project and that just started really as a bit of a joke. It wasn't even really serious. So I was like making kind of like sketchy work and that, or like heavy work. I found like a picture of a tattoo on the internet that like this guy Valerio like had done, and I contacted him after I found out who had done it and just said like I liked his work and could I come to Italy and watch him tattooing, and he was like, yeah, do you want to make a project with me together? Like you like your work? And I went, yeah. We don't actually speak that much anymore, but I went to Italy and
did you speak English?
Not a lot, minimal, but enough for us to be able to communicate. And I don't speak any Italian, like very little. I can get a few choice phrases that I'll not repeat, like, but I certainly wouldn't get you far. But yeah, I met him, went to Italy just randomly and just fucking done it. Had a few clients and that lined up, and we just like decided we were just going to make like semi-planned work. And then eventually over the course of time, we're doing more of them. The work became less planned, and it was a lot of it then became about the experience of getting it done.
It was a project that started and sort of evolved into that.
Yeah, just changed into something. And then that style of tattooing, there was a few people doing it in that. There was a guy called Musa from like the Czech Republic and that he was one of the first people that I seen that was doing like sketchy, like black stuff in this book called Le Boucherie Moderne, which is like the modern butchers. And there was 2 versions of it came out, and I remember seeing his and it was quite chaotic. And I was into that like free form, like flow, like without thought. Like a lot of the tattooing I do even now, like I just like to just start I don't like to fucking like plan the whole thing. I like to just go in, not know what I'm doing, and just allow their body to like influence my decisions on like what it's going to be. And I think initially I done it because I was lazy. A lazy cunt. I couldn't be bothered designing anything like that. And then now it's just become a process that I'm comfortable in, where if people are willing to like give me a bit of skin and like, you know, half of an idea, then I just, and creative control over it, I'll just flow with it.
You should always sort of have some creative control, because like an artist is going to know what's going to look the best.
Yeah, you should trust the person that you go to, because if you don't, you shouldn't be going to that.
The way you've described how you would actually think about making a tattoo, you know what I mean? Like the whole dress, like Alexander McQueen's and stuff. The detail you've described it and how you would actually go at it. You know what I mean?
I think like a lot of it's unconscious thought though. It's not like even, I'll just be reading a fucking book, like flicking through something or watching like a fashion show or something. I'm like, wow, that's cool as fuck. And then I'm like, maybe like drawing on someone and I'm like, oh yeah, remember that thing? And I'm like, and I'll just remember a little bit of it, and I'll maybe not even correct. It might have been a lie what I've remembered, but either way, it's given me a basis to do something new. And like a lot of the work that I've had recently hasn't been quite as much outlandish as what I'd want to do, because the logistics of people getting here has been difficult due to all this shit that's going on. And people can't travel as easily. So a lot of my good clients that are from Europe, and they've not been able to get over as much. So it's more like people that are local or within Scotland, England or whatever. And unfortunately, like British people in general aren't quite as willing to give up control. I don't know if it's a cultural thing or whatever, but a lot of people within Europe and that, they'll just be like, they have respect for you. So they know that they've come to you for a reason and they want you to do your work. They want a piece of your work on them. They don't want a tattoo that they want to give you every fucking bit of detail about what they want in it. And like, I'm not insulted by it, and I'm not snobbish or like egotistical. Like, if someone wants something, I can make a good job of it, I'll do it. If I can't, I'll put them on to whoever who can. But it is nice when someone just comes in and goes, here's my arm, I love all your work, I don't like this, this, and this, but anything else is cool. I'm like, yes. And that's when you can produce something good. And the proof's in the pudding, mate, because you can go on social media, I'll post it up and say I've done a tattoo 2 days in a row. I've done one guy who's came in and dictated every fucking detail of what he wanted. I've just done what he asked. And there's like, you know, like a handful of people have kind of liked it. And then the next guy's coming the next day and giving me full creative control over it. And I post it up, boom. And it goes like all over the place and that. And people love it. And I'm like, so that's why I end up trusting myself, because your only measurement of not how good you are, but, you know, like public acceptance is that. Like, people will show you that they like it. And it gives you confidence in yourself, because you're like, well, all the stuff that people are actually bothering to take their time out to write a little comment, a little like or whatever, they're the ones that I've thought of. And it's not because I think I'm better or anything, it's because I have the experience to know that's going to look fucking shit. And I've told you it and you're not listening. But if you want it to look fucking shit, I'll do it. 2 types of tattoo. Cash money to stay alive, and then tattooing for love. And if someone lets me do it, I ain't give a fuck about the cash. I'll do it for like sweet, like mates rates, like deal, like not if they ask me, but I will because I like doing it. But people that come in and they're just like little mini Hitlers, like just dictating to you exactly what you do, I'm like, okay.
How often do you actually somebody come in and give you creative control?
Regularly, so in a 6-day week, maybe like half the week at least.
That's class. Yeah, that's class.
There may be a few little like sort of, I'm not really into that type of stuff that you do, but stick to that. And people are sound, man.
Pattern work you do, I compare any sort of pattern that I see or dot work that I see, I compare it to your work.
Yeah, there's people that are better. I think it definitely like probably better than me at some dot work and that.
I doubt I'll know them, to be fair.
Nah, but there is like within the tattoo world and that there is, and like I'm not like claiming to be the best of that, but I try my best, and like, you know, like there maybe be a little bit of human error here and there and that, but to me that's like important. Like there's a few tattooists that I follow that are like amazing, but their work is so good that it's got no soul. Like it's not got any like fucking guts. And I prefer when people are just doing things with confidence. They're just like, get in there and just go for it, man. So fuck if you get a little wobble or something, you know what I mean? Does it really matter? It shows it's been done by a person, not by a robot.
Let's go. What brands would you wear? What are your favourite brands?
So like day-to-day kind of like basic sort of shit and that, I tend to buy Nike and Adidas. Mostly I'd buy like Nike. So like just shit for chucking on like shorts and t-shirts and bits and pieces. I would always just buy Nike and that. Usually the higher end shit, so like Nike Lab, Nike Tech and that stuff that's made of better fabric. I don't really like buying stuff that's like overly like huge fucking branding and that all over them. In regards to sportswear, I'm just not that keen on it. So I'd buy more pointer stuff, and I buy a lot of basics from them to like mix and match with other shit. For like sort of what I would buy most of, or things that I'm most attracted to, I actually like a lot of like more like casual, what would be considered casual brands. So like Stone Island, CP Company and all those type of things. I've got a fairly large Stone Island collection. I love it. Like I'll always try and buy pieces that are like key pieces and that are interesting and that will hold weight, like they'll hold value. Because maybe one day I'll be skint and I might need to fucking sell them, and I've bought a bunch of stuff that no one really likes. So I try and be mindful when I'm spending a large amount of money on it. I'll also buy things from them that'll maybe match trainers that I've got, you know, like certain colorways and that I'll remember. I always try and be mindful of. It's hard to remember because I've got a collection.
A lot of guys do like they put stuff on their Instagram just so they could check and remember everything they've got.
You just flip through it and that, like to see. Cause you do forget, you forget shit. But sometimes I'm like, there'll just be a certain color, and I'm like, I'll buy it. So I don't always buy on the brand. I'll buy brands that are like of good quality and that are worth the money. Of recent, I've been buying like Drilled Them On shirt.
A lot of people are wearing that Palm Angels now.
Palm Angels. I've got a few pieces off them, a couple of the like high neck t-shirts and that with the print on them. And the first thing I got off them is actually a hat. It says legalize it across it with like a bauble and that. It's pretty cool. But I didn't really hear much about Palm Angels. And to be honest with you, mate, they're not actually that good quality. I buy Y3, Heron Preston, and then smaller designers like Priya Farzana, who's like an Iranian chick that works in London. I love her shit. She makes like Iranian like hand printed fabrics and stuff, cut in like sportswear, but in like traditional fabrics and that. Really cool. Liam Hodges, that's like a newish designer from London. Craig Green, that's obviously getting massive now. He's doing a lot more.
All that stuff like he done with Montclair and stuff.
Yeah, I've got a few of his key like original pieces and that he done like in his first capsule and that. I've always liked his stuff. Samuel Ross from A Cold Wall.
Do you like Alexander Wang stuff?
Not really. I don't really like him either. I think he's a bit of a gimp. Like,
I've never really liked anyone.
I like Rick Owens, Ralph Simmons. Fuck man, there's so many brands. Obviously bigger brands like Gucci, Balenciaga. I've got quite a lot of Gucci stuff in that. That tends to be my like street shit.
Something I learned for you back in the day was you used to come into the shop with a cracking pair of trainers and then swap them over for someone else for tattooing. I still do that to this day in the shop.
What do you mean? All right, yeah. I do it every day.
Yeah, whatever trainers you come in with, that's not what you're tattooing.
Nah, I've got Barface. So I've actually bought a pair of ACG Mach 2s or Mach 3s. I can't remember what they are, black ones. They're absolutely fucked. They're covered in ink. They're all rotted and everything.
This is the thing that goes on with you. Like, the ink goes everywhere.
It goes everywhere. So, like, unfortunately, at my work a lot of the time, like, I've got to get changed into black clothing. So normally I'd just been kicking about always in black all week. Black, fucking this, that. But recently, because it's been summer and that, I'm like, fucking fed up wearing black. So I'll actually put on shit in the morning before I go to the gym, like nice, like fucking summery looking shit. And then I'll get to my work and I'll put on black t-shirt, black shorts, or I'll put on an apron or something. Because your stuff gets fucked.
Yeah.
It gets fucked. Like if you're wearing anything on your like your legs, like ink spatters all over it. And it's ruined. And I've spent too many years like racking stuff. But years ago in that, like before I really had any dough mate, at all, and like most of my money was going on learning to tattoo and like traveling to London and getting tattooed and drugs probably and like shit. I just spunked it all. And it's only probably been since I was like in my late 20s that I've had any dough to really buy anything.
So was the money in tattooing as much back then?
I don't know, like fucking... I mean, people, like, there's loads of money in it if you want it, but I don't want to, like, isolate anyone, so I don't put my prices in that because I still want to be able to tattoo everyone. Like, when you become an elitist in that with, like, tattooing or any kind of thing, you're alienating an audience of people, and I want to tattoo people that are, like, my people, that kind of, like, I don't charge any more than I would pay. So, like, fucking, some places in that in London, like, there's guys in Europe and Japan and that are charging, mate, like, mega, like, 2,500, 3,000 euros a day and everything. Like, who the fuck's got money? And then who are you going to be dealing with that's got that kind of money? Like, you're dealing with assholes. Like.
I always wonder who's got that kind of money.
Some people do, but you end up like you're marketing that gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And fair enough, like, you're really good, but I think you have to have a level of respect over like where you came from and like who you are, and not forgetting your roots, and that you're just a cunt like everyone else.
You're a boy for the
Yeah,
streets
like
of Dundee,
fucking,
man.
yeah. I don't ever want to be like, you know, like total like beyond myself or nothing. Like, so I can probably make more doing that if I wanted, but I don't need any anymore. I'm happy with what I've got. Like,
That's very, very humble and sort of
you've got,
way to phrase it,
I
mate.
I think about it all the time in that, because I hear about some people in that are just like shite, charging an absolute fortune, and I'm like, they're total piss takers. Like, they've got no respect for their clients or their own people or that. They just care about themselves. Like, our culture in that in Britain in general is selfish.
Yeah.
It's selfish as fuck. Like, none of us help each other out. You know what I mean? Like, people will just be like, oh, well, it's a pure me culture, and I hate really like being anything to do with it. So I always try and do like, you know, what I can to not be that. Yeah. And that includes like not alienating people from the shop. A shop's for everyone. You know what I mean? I think Calum, Josh and that, they're probably on exactly the same page. There's no snobbery in our shop, like, at all.
The level of conversation that goes on in the tattoo shop is like, it's a high intelligence sort of conversation a lot of the time.
Yeah, sometimes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes. I think like everyone's got their own wee personalities and that, and you obviously have people from all walks of life coming in, so the vibe changes day to day, and I try and be like socially adjustable, is maybe the words, where I'm not like, I can be myself at all times, but there'll be certain parts of my personality that'll either just not bother even going into, because some of them might be offended. And then other people in that, you can be fully yourself, and you have to be a social chameleon, because then again, it ties in the same thing. You don't want to alienate anyone. I don't want anyone coming in and go, I felt uncomfortable. They never made me feel welcome. Like, mate, like one day you go in and you've got like, you know, like local cunts and that just coming in, just the boys, like it's fun. You speak about whatever you want. And the next day I've got someone coming in that's like, you know, a fucking architect from London or something. And I have to adjust my personality to make them feel welcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everyone does. You know, if you want to be successful in your business, you can't just be like, oh, well, I'm just me. You have to be you, but versions of you.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And it's a tattoo studio would be quite an intimidating place for some people just to go into.
Yeah, it's really
intimidating. Never been there before.
Mate, do you remember? I remember the first time I went to a tattoo shop. It was fucking terrifying.
Mine's was from the corner. Was it Ink Demons?
Nah, mine was at Graham Watto, like Nash. That he's passed on. Like, he done my first few. And mate, he was just a maniac. Like, yeah, he was always drunk. But like, I've got loads of fond memories. He didn't even like me. He hated me. He didn't want me in his shop because he called me a spy in camp, because he knew that I wanted to learn to tattoo. So like, eventually I just stopped going to him. But like, the first few I got done in there, and he would like come in hiding like pints behind his paper, and he was a great guy. And I remember like being dead envious like of his position as a child. Basically, I was underage probably when I was getting tattooed, and I thought, man, I want a job where I can just be a dick and like still make money. And like, tattooing was obviously that. But I seen it through. No one wanted to help me. Didn't get an apprenticeship or anything. I just self-taught.
Yeah, you done it the hard way, man.
Took years. And Calum, the cunt,
he just took to it like that.
Calum was like, but he was naturally a good artist. I had a little bit of technical ability.
You've got two totally different sort of styles.
Well, like that as kids. So like, he done like, he would copy things, but you know, like drawings, like he'd sit, like, I don't like to say like a Disney thing, and like, you know, like copy it from point A to point B, which he still does, because he like does portraiture and all that kind of stuff. Man, I'm shit at that. But I would do like stuff from my head, and I'm still like that. So both of us, it's echoed throughout the years. We're doing a convention in London.
I've been telling him to get down with the conventions for years.
Yeah, well, he's amazing, like, yeah, but Calum would be the first one to admit, like, he's lazy when it comes to promoting himself, and I'm not. I'm like a media whore.
Because you were always going to like Amsterdam, I remember, and Sweden. Remember, you got stopped going to Germany and stuff.
Germany and that. Yeah, there's been loads of places and that. I would either do a guest spot or like do like a convention or whatever. But the Great British Tattoo show's on in London. The main London one's been cancelled. I don't know why. It was like loads of personal issues and stuff. I think one of the people passed on. And the Great British one's like the Alexandra Palace, I think it is. And the whole shop's going. So me, Calum, Joshua, I'm tattooing Jess for like a half day or a day or whatever. Josh will probably come down. Just to represent, like, you know, like Dundee and like, fuck it.
Yeah, that's class, man. Like the whole team going down.
Yeah, it's just a good vibe in that, mate. And hopefully it'll be decent. If we get to work at, depending if they've got vaccination passports, none of us will be working at.
I can imagine.
Yeah, we'll be working at. But out with that, we'll definitely be there. Like,
it's good to see, man. It's good to see like people from the city going out doing their thing and doing it well. But it's like you said, mate. Like no one helped you, no one took you on as an apprentice, nothing like that. You had to go out your way, go down London, hunt this. I can relate to that because when I was trying to get the shoes on the go, there was nothing like
no, you can't get
to show
that.
you.
No,
You know what I mean?
You had to hustle. I remember when you first started doing it. You had like a dozen pairs back in the back of your car or something. You know what I mean? Really?
I went through some amount of shite to get started up, man. It was crazy. But there's no one there to help you. You've got to.
How grateful do you feel now?
Oh, unbelievably grateful. Like, I was always, like I said, like when I used to come to the shop and see what you had on it, I always wanted something like that. You know what I mean?
Just your own space.
That was always the goal. And then, you see what I found? When I got the shop open, right, and then I sort of went stale for about 6 months because my goal was to get the shop open. And then once I'd done it, I was like, I didn't really have much else going on. You know what I mean?
You've got to always be like figuring out your next plan.
Yeah, you've always got to have three, like a snooker player, 3 moves ahead. You know what I mean?
Just always like a loose plan in your head. Sometimes plans never got a plan, like, and I'm pretty sure everyone's aware of that with, you know, current circumstances and that. It doesn't always work out the way you want, but it doesn't mean that you've not got the ability to change it, because you can get into like a negative thought process where you're just like, oh, well, you know, that's that fucked. I'm like, yeah, maybe, but then you just pick your shit up.
You can't let the negativity take over.
Because then you won't get anywhere. Like, that's life.
Yeah.
You've just got to pick up your shit and like stop complaining sometimes.
It's like what we said earlier on with people, you know, that have just got their negative comments to say. You know what I mean? If you let that get in there, it's like a poison. You know what I mean?
You have to, the good thing is for me, mate, is like looking like the way I have for so many years. You get a lot of fucking negative comments, a lot of people giving you shite and that, but you get thick-skinned as fuck about it. I've told my kids in that as well. I mean, don't waste any of your time and energy on shit that other people have to say, whether it's about what you wear, your fucking gender, sexuality, like, you know, like geeky hobbies you're into or whatever. Just do what you want and fucking dismiss everyone, because as soon as you absorb their shit, you'll become like poisoned by it. You know what I mean? And you'll become one of them because you've submitted to it. But if you're thick-skinned as fuck, you just let it bounce off you, you'll always be successful in everything that you choose to do.
It's like you say, if you sit with like 5 millionaires, you'll be the 6th. If you sit with 5 junkies.
Yeah, of course. Like, surround yourself by positive energy. Anyone that's a non-positive person to be around negative energy, even if they're blood, fucking remove them. You know what I mean? Permanently. And just surround yourself by good guys. Because like, family and that, like my family is like really small, right? And there's a few people in my family that I've had to just basically remove because they're poison. And I always thought, am I a bad person for doing that? But I'm not, because it was done with heart, because I didn't want any of it to drag me down with singing shit. And like, it's the same with friends and all that kind of stuff. If someone's your friend and they want you to do well, they'll support you. Even when you're in the shit and you're down in the dumps and you fucked it up and, you know, you've got to start again, they'll still be there bigging you up going, right, come on.
That's when you find out who your real mates
are.
are.
And there's not many of them. I've got like loads of fucking acquaintances and tiny amount of friends.
I want to talk to you about your 5 favourite pairs that you own.
So like definitely the Yeezy 500 Soft Vision, 100%. I love them. That's like the lilac coloured one, the sick. The Air Max 95 Japan neon one. Air Max 1. Actually, my Air Max 1, the one that I like the most of recent is it's a Nike For You that I made myself. And it's all done in ivory like off-white, and the bubble is done in black. That's the only bit that's black on it. They're fucking beautiful. I've not even worn them yet. I like an Adidas Young one. They're
becoming very popular.
I've got loads of them, mate. I've got a pair that are the Dragon Ball Z ones.
The Freezes.
I've got them. Yeah. They're sick. And
did you get anything else out of that drop? Like the Dragon Ball Z ones?
Nah, I don't think so. Nah. That was the only one. Nah, just a young one. The only Adidas I actually buy is an Oswego, a young one and a young 96, and then some Y3 models. But I'm not like super into it. It's weird because for years and that, I used to buy Campus and Gazelles and like that. I wore them constantly. I don't know, I just put on a pair of Air Max again one day and I was like, oh God.
For example, the Campus, it's a big hip-hop shoe, but yeah.
So like I've changed them. And then Balenciaga Track 2, think they're absolutely unbelievable. And I've got a pair of, what's the other pair that I really like? Vapor Max. the acronyme edition that are black and lime green speckles all over them. Absolutely amazing. They're my top 5.
Top 5. What's your rarest pair?
Got like some off-white models from like the 10, like Virgil Abloh's like 10. They're probably pretty rare. And
they've
got some of the like animal pack OGs from like the Air Max 1 and that.
The Safari Pack and stuff,
Pack, yeah. I've got some rare stuff. I don't know. I never really buy them on Rarity. I just buy them on what the fuck they go with. Like, I know some people are super into like how rare they are and that, but I don't really care. I don't want them to be like super easy to get, but I'm happy if they're just ones that maybe no one else even wants. Even shit from the sale and that, I sometimes get a bunch of stuff in the sale because
sales are brilliant.
Because people like a lot of the stuff I like isn't really that popular. So like the colorways and that are more like flamboyant, you know, like pinks, luminous colors and that, and like camo and all that kind of shit. Also the Air Max 97 Italian camo, then the autumn camo.
Yeah, you're a size 10 now. 10 and a half. So you had the same problem as me as you can't get women's colorways.
I can't get them. I love women's clothes and that as well. It's funny, I went into Gucci in Stockholm and I was speaking to this guy, Bruno. He's like a super nice guy. I've actually kept in touch with him. He's a manager of Gucci time. He works for Chanel now. And I was chatting to him about this. And the girl like came over and she was like, just asked me if she needed help. And I'm like, yeah, cool. And I was like, where's like the men's section? Oh, you know, like men can wear the women's stuff. I'm like, do you have anything in a 56? And she's like, I'm like, okay. So like, I actually wear chick stuff a lot. I wear like women's handbags, women's sunglasses, accessories, hats and shit. Anything that I can get away with that's dead feminine because I love like looking like a fucking bloke and acting like a bloke, but like playing on it. Like I love the play on gender with anyone. I think it's dead interesting. I love when you see men that are like dressed in kind of a feminine way, but they look masculine. And I love seeing women dressed in like dudes' clothes and that. I think it looks sick, you know, like streetwear and all that kind of shit. And I just think it's cool to like be fluid and like not be bothered about like it's a fucking piece of fabric. Who's to tell you that that is a woman's piece of fabric? What a retarded concept. It doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? For me, like I always think that if I could get the women's colorways, then I would. You know what I mean? But just it doesn't happen.
Do you know that apparently back when like I would say colours were invented, but apparently back in like the Victorian times, I think pink was meant for boys and blue was meant for girls.
It's very possible. I mean, like pink looks sick. I love wearing pink.
Yeah, I'm a fan of pink.
I'm not really a blue fan at all. Like I've got very little in regards to navy, some like teals and turquoise and that, but like pink is brilliant. It always looks cool and it suits my skin tone and that.
I think I've got like 3 pink coats.
Yeah.
That I love every single one.
Oh yeah, I like a pink, all different shades, like cerise and like neon and like millennial pink and like fucking all the different, any of them. Thaman.
Well, Cammy, I think that
Cheers, man.
Wrapped up here, mate. It's been an absolute honour, mate. Thanks very much for coming down and speaking to us. This has been the Dundee Show podcast. Thank you.